Hi, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. Welcome if you're new, if you're a client. I'm glad you're here. You guys can feel free to use the chat function. If someone can test it out, we can see, hopefully you guys can hear me. So I'll type in the chat and make sure this works. Awesome, thank you. Alrighty, how was everyone's Monday? It's hot over here in Philadelphia. I don't know about where all you are. I'll wait a couple minutes, make sure people are trickling in late. Do we have any on-point clients here? I'm going to share my screen. Soon to be a client. That's great. Glad to hear it. Welcome. Awesome. Is anyone here currently plant-based or interested in becoming plant-based or just learning more about it? I would love to hear from you guys. Adding more plant-based meals to your diet. That's awesome. I would encourage that to everyone. So that's what we'll be learning all about today. Learning more, getting more veggies in. That's always important. That's why plant-based foods are kind of fun, because you're, instead of basing your diet around typically kind of how we learn it traditionally is protein, starch, vegetable. So this is kind of just a new fun concept of how to include foods around plants versus how to make plants kind of the side dishes. Awesome. Well, I'm going to get started and people can kind of trickle in, but feel free to continue to use the chat function. I'll be checking that throughout the presentation. Thank you all for coming today. I know it's a Monday. Hopefully everyone had a nice day. My name is Shannon. I'm a registered dietitian here at OnPoint. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you're a client, awesome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Just to bring everyone up to speed, OnPoint Nutrition, we're a virtual nutritional counseling company. So we're a team of qualified dietitians, nutritionists, and we provide personalized programs to help you meet your health goals. So we always work at the pace that you need so that you gain the confidence and live a healthier lifestyle, especially when it comes to plant-based nutrition. Everyone's kind of at a different pace, has different goals here. So it's definitely at your own pace. That's what we'll be talking about tonight, is all things plant-based nutrition. So this is something a ton of our clients come to us to work on with disease management, weight loss, if someone's in the process of transitioning to a plant-based diet, plant-based athletes, or if clients are already plant-based, either vegan or vegetarian, and just want to ensure their needs are all being met. Or for a lot of you, it sounds like the goal tonight will be to kind of just learn more about plant-based nutrition and incorporating foods here and there that are plant-based. So wherever you are on your journey, I'm glad you're here to learn more. This is a huge lifestyle change for lots of people. So it can definitely be challenging, and we'll talk about a lot of those challenges and new fun ways to incorporate vegetables and plants into your diet. So tonight I'll go over how we put together meal plans at On Point, specifically for clients interested in following a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And then I'll touch base on some tips for plant-based eating. We'll review an example meal planning guide for the whole week and provide you with a shopping list to get you started. So again, if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, just shoot them in the chat function. And I heard from a lot of you already, but if anyone's joining us, if you're a plant-based eater already, or if you're interested in it, just let me know. I would love to hear from you guys. It's also fun to see where everyone's from too, so feel free to write that in the chat too. Alrighty, so let's get into it. So one of the first things I wanted to touch on is why people are interested in plant-based nutrition. So I'm sure for a lot of you, it's very different. So some people are interested in this plant-based lifestyle for environmental reasons, for ethical reasons, and then a lot of us, I'm sure it's health reasons. So the common denominator here is that we're wanting to eat more plant foods. So for anyone starting this transition or thinking about including more plant foods, it does not have to be all at once. So this transition, like I was saying earlier, kind of at your own pace, this looks different for everyone. Everyone's pace is different. Usually this is a really slow process, starting with cutting down on meat and processed foods and including more plant foods, or cutting back on animal-based foods and incorporating more plant-based meals, maybe like a meatless Monday or those kinds of things to slowly ease into it. So this concept of a plant-based diet is focusing on minimally processed foods and focusing on whole plant foods to give you health. So there is kind of such thing of doing plant-based diet, vegan diets, vegetarian diets that aren't exactly healthy or well-balanced, because they could still include a lot of junk food and processed foods and oils and things that aren't going to necessarily give us health. So that's really, I want you all to keep that concept in mind going throughout this presentation, is that we're focusing on whole forms of foods. So our goals for tonight, we're going to learn how to plan plant-based meals for the week. We're going to understand the importance of food in their whole form and how to easily make swaps with certain recipes so that we can have more whole foods in our diet, and then how to prep balanced meals and snacks throughout the week. Alrighty, I'm going to check the chat function before we get more into it. Awesome. I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to get more vegetables in, which is perfect. Luckily, you came to the right webinar. From Washington, Chicago, careful eating vitamin K. Philly, awesome. We have some Philly people. That's great. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I'm happy to see everyone from all over. Alrighty, so this is our meal planning guide. So we're going to go through this specifically for anyone following a whole food plant-based diet. So 6 steps to success. We're going to go through all of them. So the number one thing that you can do when following a plant-based diet or incorporating more plant-based foods into your diet is to get organized. So this is key. So a couple things here is, one, it's important to kind of familiarize yourself with plant-based nutrition, educate yourself a little bit about it, have a lot of resources that you can turn to. 2, we'll go through this in the meal planning guide, but kind of familiarizing yourself with easy substitutions in recipes. Not all recipes are going to be whole food plant-based, but you can easily make swaps to make it more accommodating. And then 3, just thinking about organization in general, especially if this is new for you, getting organized and preparing ahead is going to be key to stay on track, meet your goals, and do plant-based the right way. So meal planning and preparing your food, that'll always set you up for success, and you'll thank yourself. I'm sure we've all experienced this when you do take the time to make a plan and to prepare your food ahead of time. That just saves you so much time during the week, so much stress with figuring out what meals to create, especially if this is new and you're not really comfortable with figuring out what meals to make and you don't know how much time it'll take you. It just helps you so much to get organized. So that is the number one thing you can do. Number two is this concept of selecting whole, minimally processed foods. So again, making sure it's easy, especially when you're starting this transition, to lean on foods that are more processed, like Impossible burgers versus having a regular burger. That's a good swap, but it's not the most nutrient-dense food that you can have. So kind of just reframing your thoughts on how to build a meal. It's going to look a little bit different on this plan. So you're going to focus your main source of food, filling up on mainly vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, starchy vegetables, limiting processed foods as much as possible. So this is important when you're planning out your meals, making sure you're choosing recipes and foods that are accommodating for your plan, and limiting processed foods as much as possible. Number three, we have choosing a variety of plant foods. So this is important, one, so that you don't get bored, and two, so that you're getting lots of different nutrients in. So the more plants you're incorporating throughout your day, one, you're meeting your fiber intake, which a lot of us, that's very challenging for the typical American diet. We're not really meeting our fiber intake. We know that this helps with blood sugar control, digestion, helps with our good gut bacteria. So the more we can get whole foods in our diet, fiber is going to be adequate, and then we're getting a variety, is ensuring that we're getting a lot of different vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients. So this can look, choosing a variety can look like a lot of things. Maybe it's getting a new fruit each week, getting a new vegetable each week, making sure that you're incorporating different vegetables or different starches into your plan each week so that you're getting a variety. And this also helps keep things fun. The next point here, this next step, choosing high quality starches and fats. This is probably one of the most important. These are all very important, but this one is key. I'm going to talk about a lot of this. I'll say this a lot, is the high quality starches, high quality fats, high quality everything. You'll see in our plan, which we'll get to in a little bit, you'll see that your starches on this plan might be a little bit higher than what we're used to. Protein might be a little bit lower, but that's why it's so important to get in high quality starches, high quality fats, because the quality, you're going to get in fiber, you're going to get in protein if you're choosing whole grains, if you're choosing whole forms of food versus more processed foods, you're not getting those benefits. So choosing whole grains, beans, legumes, starchy vegetables that contain protein and fiber, and same with fats, making sure we're going to talk a lot about minimizing oils and added fats as much as possible and getting in whole sources of fats so that you're getting in the benefits of that whole food versus more of a processed food. Step number five is planning ahead. So similar to getting organized, planning ahead is key to staying on track. So thinking about what your day is going to look like, what kind of snacks you need to bring with you, what is your meal? Do you have all of your food groups that you need throughout the day? Even when you're going out to eat, it's always helpful to plan ahead, especially if you're trying to follow this whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Looking at the menu ahead of time is always important. Being prepared to ask questions, and if you can make swaps at restaurants, planning ahead is always very important. And then the last step is to make sure that this is exciting and fun. This is a challenge for a lot of people, and it is very challenging, but you want it to be fun and exciting. Pick meals that you feel excited about trying, that you're not just like, oh, I have to try this new vegetable that I hate, or choose a vegetable that you really enjoy and try to do something fun and new with it. you want this to be a long-term sustainable thing for you. So getting creative and having fun with it, choosing your plant foods that you enjoy and jazzing it up with different flavors and ways of cooking things and spices, that's always makes the experience much more exciting. Any questions so far from anyone? I'll check the chat. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat. Alrighty. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about how to actually plan out a day, plan out a week, what this looks like, some different exciting meals to try. So the first thing I want to talk about here is if anyone is a client at OnPoint, you know that how we keep track of things, and our concept here is that we have different food groups that we keep track of. So as a client, you are given these targets. So up here, you'll see these different targets. So based on your personal goals, your personal nutrient needs, everyone's going to look a little bit different. But for tonight, these are the targets we're going to use. So for you, it might look a little bit different. But what you'll notice here, if anyone is an OnPoint client, that protein is probably a little bit lower than what you are used to. Fruits and vegetables are very high. Starches are also a little bit higher. Dairy is not required. And then fats are pretty normal, maybe a little bit on the lower end. So the big things to note here, I'm sure a lot of people have questions about protein. How can you still meet your protein needs on a plant-based diet? You absolutely can. So as long as you're getting enough calories throughout the day, that's number one to meeting a lot of our needs, especially with protein. Number two is, again, the quality. So I'm going to talk about that a lot. As long as your starches are coming from good quality sources like whole grains, legumes, beans, chickpeas, good quality starchy vegetables, those have bits of protein that are going to add up throughout the day to meet your protein needs. Same with even vegetables have protein in them, fats have protein in them. So all these things, as long as you're meeting your total targets throughout the day, your protein needs are going to be met. So that's the key here when looking at the starches, and we'll go through the meal plan and make sure that all of our starches are going to be quality. Same with the fats, like I was talking about, making sure that those two are high quality so that we're getting in fiber, we're getting in protein. All right, so let's go through an example. So how I like to start thinking about my meals and my meal plan for the week is I like to start with lunches. Those tend to be the trickiest, especially if you're busy throughout the week. Lunches are always nice to have available if you don't have a lot of time during the week, if you're working, if you're on the go. That's the best place to start. So what I like to do is I really enjoyed any variation of a salad is really great, especially when starting out thinking about different plant-based meals. You get lots of different food groups in there, lots of different flavors. So an on-point recipe for any clients is if anyone has tried this, the Asian edamame salad. Has anyone tried this who is an on-point client? This is a great place to start. One, salads are super easy. You can kind of throw things into a bowl. It's lots of different food groups, lots of great flavors. And what's nice is you can prepare it in bulk. So you can have this every other day. You can have it every day throughout the week. You can, if you enjoy having the same things every day, if you don't mind that, that's fine. If you want to rotate it, that's easy too. But it's nice to have one pot dishes so that you can easily just scoop it out, have it ready to go. You don't have to put things together the morning of. So the Asian edamame salad, what we do here at OnPoint is we break down the different food groups and how to count them. So I'll go through an example. So for the Asian edamame salad, this would be 1 fat, half a protein from the edamame, and a starch from the edamame, a vegetable, and a condiment. So this is helpful when planning out your meals. You'll see that what I like to highlight here is to meet our protein, we want to make sure we're getting half a protein at lunch, half a protein at dinner. So what is half a protein for people that aren't on-point clients? We, especially the plant-based proteins, usually we'll count them in half proteins. So these will be things like edamame, tofu, lentils, beans, chickpeas, nuts, hummus. Any of those will count as our protein on this plan. Usually we'll need those in a little bit larger amounts. So making sure that you're getting in that half protein at lunch and dinner, along with our good quality starches, vegetables, fats, fruit, so on. But at least getting that half protein at lunch and dinner will help ensure you're meeting your protein needs. So for the Asian edamame salad, we're good to go. What I like to do when on a plant-based diet, since we're cutting back on the animal protein, I like to add things to the side. So the Asian edamame salad, for me, it might not fill me up completely. So I like to think about, okay, what else do I need? I have an abundance of starches that I can use, and there's not a lot of starches in this salad. That's how I can fill up. I'm going to add some starches. So I like to fill up on sweet potatoes, potatoes. You can add quinoa on the side. Think of a good quality starch that you can pair with this salad. And personally, I think a sweet potato would be a good addition to this meal. So whatever you want, you can add in whatever kind of starch you want, but I think a sweet potato on the side would be a good choice. And you can make these in bulk. So say you just roast or bake a bunch of sweet potatoes, you can have them whenever you need them. You can add them on salads, you can pair them with a meal. Preparing them in abundance, you can even have them as a snack or as a breakfast. So having those starches ready to go ahead of time is really helpful, and it helps keep you full. So this is our first lunch. Our second lunch, another one that I really like, so thinking about that half protein, we want to make sure that we're getting some sort of plant-based protein with lunch. So another great go-to is a taco bowl. So I enjoy, this is a super simple meal too. This is my daily go-to, and it takes me 10 minutes. So a cup of beans would be half a protein. So we'll say 1 cup of beans, and that can be any variety of beans, black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, whatever kind of beans you want. They can be canned. Just make sure that the sodium isn't super crazy, and you can do dried if you want. So a cup of beans, so we're getting that half protein. Definitely want to pair this with lots of veggies. So you can, another good tip here to kind of fill up, and especially for those that are wanting more vegetables, is you can double up on vegetables. So say we're having, this taco bowl is going to have peppers and onions. You can add really any vegetable variation that you want, but those are the ones I'm going to go with. So peppers and onions, and have a double portion. This is a great way to, 1, fill up, 2, get in lots of veggies, and 3, it tastes delicious, and it's really easy. Another good way to get more vegetables in is like a salsa or pico de gallo. So add that to your bowl. We'll say pico de gallo, you're getting lots of tomatoes in, onions, cilantro, fresh herbs, and brown rice would be a good addition to this. Brown rice or quinoa, again, getting a whole grain, a good quality starch, help fill up. And thinking about fats, we haven't talked a lot about the fats yet. But a good quality fat to include with this would be an avocado. So we can do 1 serving here at On Point of an avocado. 1 fat serving would be 1/4 of an avocado. I want to go back to this Asian edamame salad really quickly, thinking about the fats. So in this Asian edamame salad, there is olive oil in here. So I wanted to mention about the fats and talking about quality fats and reducing processed fats as much as possible. The Asian edamame salad does call for olive oil in the dressing, but a really easy swap whenever dressings call for oil is just to replace it with either vinegar or lemon juice or lime juice. And what this does is this is giving you an opportunity throughout the day to then have a whole source of fat. So say we omit the oil or we replace it with lemon juice, vinegar, lime juice, we have an opportunity here to have a whole source of fat, and that's going to keep us satisfied much longer. It's going to give us a lot more nutrients than what the olive oil would be. So think the whole olive and all the nutrients that it's giving you versus the oil, where it's only giving you, it's still technically a processed food. Perfect. Sorry, it's looking at the chat. Yeah, if anyone has questions, send them in. So here we'll say, let's have a whole source of fat instead, and we'll have the Asian edamame salad. We'll say we'll have olives. I'm not sure if that completely goes or not. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of olives, but if you are, great. If not, I think avocados would go really well here too. So similarly here, so for example, a lot of people will saute peppers, onions when preparing their vegetables, especially in this taco bowl. But another good tip here with thinking about oils is you can easily replace that by 1, steaming them or using a different cooking method, or 2, has anyone tried using vegetable broth or water when sauteing instead of oil? Awesome. We've got a couple yeses. That's great because again, that's giving you an opportunity for later in the day to have a whole source of fat. It's going to fill you up a lot more, give you a lot more nutrient density, and oil in general, it's not doing a whole lot for you. The whole food's going to do more for you, and it still comes out tasting the same. So those would be good lunches to have. I'd say personally, I like to rotate these throughout the week. So you can kind of make these in batches and just rotate them throughout the week. And it gives you variety. It makes things fun and exciting, switches things up every day, but it makes your life a little bit easier when planning. On the weekends, if you have a little more flexibility, we have a great avocado corn salad. Again, with the salads, especially in the summertime, I feel like they're just nice and refreshing. They give you a lot of different food groups. They're easy. And then again, pairing some sort of protein. So add beans in here, have a fruit on the side so that you're getting some of your fruit in there. Again, this one calls for oil, but just replace the oil with something else. And then another good go-to is chickpea salad. So we have a good chickpea quinoa salad. Again, giving you good quality starches, protein, lots of vegetables in there. Take out the oil, you're in good shape. So those are some good lunch ideas. Next, I like to think about dinners. So dinners, I feel like, is where a lot of variety can come into play and getting creative. If you have a little bit more time in the evenings or on a Sunday, make a new recipe that you can have throughout the week. So one great way that has a lot of great flavors to get in lots of veggies, plant-based protein, a cauliflower, chickpea, tikka masala. This is an on-point recipe. This is my absolute favorite recipe. Has anyone tried this one? If not, I highly recommend. So this cauliflower chickpea tikka masala, again, you're getting in half protein here from the chickpeas, good quality starches from also the chickpeas. You're getting in vegetables from the tomatoes. You can easily add more vegetables within the broth. And then adding quinoa on the side to pair it with to get in more protein, getting in lots of good quality starches, the amino acids. And again, you can double up on vegetables here if you're wanting more vegetables. You can even add, we'll say, a side salad to get in more vegetables here too. Another great dinner recipe, again, thinking about the half protein, that's how I kind of like to start is, okay, what protein am I going to have with dinner? So I'm going to, thinking of a different way to have protein that's not, if you get sick of beans. So if you're on this plan and you're like, okay, I'm kind of tired of beans, I want to try it in a new form or a new way, a great way to do that is falafel. So there's a great, again, on-point recipe that is baked falafel. And you can add, this is just a nice way to have chickpeas in a different form. It's nice, it's baked, it's almost like comforting still, like a meatball if you're missing meat or just transitioning. It's kind of a nice transition that way. So you can pair this again with lots of veggies. I like to pair this with a parsley salad. So you can add in fresh parsley and tomatoes. Again, with salads, if it calls for oil, it's not really necessary. I would add lemon juice instead and natural flavoring so that you can save that fat for nuts or throughout the day as a snack or another kind of good quality fat. There's lots of other great dinner recipes. There's jalapeno black bean burger. That's a great summertime recipe for grilling. There's chili, vegetarian bean chili is also another great one. If you're meal prepping throughout the week or if you need to freeze some things, you can sneak in lots of vegetables in there too. So let's get into breakfast now. Breakfast, for me, breakfast, I can have the same breakfast every single day. I know that a lot of people need variety. Some people are on the same page. Breakfast, you sometimes don't think about a whole lot. You just kind of do it. Some people, this is their favorite meal of the day. So we'll go through a couple different examples. One great way to get in lots of different food groups is any variation of a smoothie or smoothie bowl. So a smoothie bowl, we have a great recipe. It's berry and oat smoothie bowl. I would recommend any kind of smoothie or smoothie bowl adding in, again, a good quality starch like oats, dried oats. This is going to help keep you fuller longer, give you that complex carbohydrate with some fiber, protein in it. So this smoothie bowl is great. It gives you lots of different food groups, fats, fruit, starch, even vegetables. You can sneak in vegetables this way too. Another great one, overnight oats. I'm sure everyone has heard of those. They're great. Again, with the oats, they help keep you full for a long period of time. You can add a lot of toppings on top, like lots of fruit on there. I like to always, as a rule of thumb, fruit tends to be the food group that can kind of die off later in the day, or if you're getting in lots of different savory foods at lunch and dinner, it's kind of hard to squeeze in a fruit. So I like to always make sure breakfast has some sort of, at least one fruit, and then filling in the gaps with snacks for your other fruits. So overnight oats, the smoothie bowl are great. Some other good breakfast ideas, if you're wanting to do less animal protein, just more plant-based in general. On the weekends, again, say you had your sweet potato left over here. You can even have this for breakfast. So I've done before, this is kind of a fun starch to have in the morning because it's sweet, it's comforting, it's nice. You can add fruit to it. So instead of, think of toast, like having whole grain toast and having peanut butter or banana on top, you can just use the sweet potato as your starch, and it's really satisfying, really filling. You can add chia seeds and like a good quality fat on top to help keep you full. This could be easy if you already have sweet potatoes left over from the week. If you are a savory person and you're missing out on some savory meals, tofu scramble is the way to go. So this is another great way to get in lots of veggies. If you're missing eggs or if you're wanting to try something new, if you're wanting less of the saturated fat and cholesterol, the tofu scramble would be a great option. And you can have on the side similar like roasted potatoes. That's another good thing to note, thinking about roasting foods and thinking about oil in general. Something that you can do if you're roasting potatoes, say, if you get parchment paper and you cut up the potatoes, you don't even need the oil. You can just kind of flavor it with whatever spices you're using. If you want the spices to stick, you can use a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of water. But the parchment paper is really nice. So you can pair this with potatoes, avocado for good quality fat. Maybe fruit salads are nice to have throughout the week with breakfast or with snacks. Those are great. So those are kind of the main meals that I think about. And then when thinking about snacks, I like to just kind of fill in the gaps. Snacks are definitely key. If anyone has tried a plant-based diet or is interested in doing it, it's definitely key to make sure that you're snacking, if you have the flexibility, to make sure you're snacking consistently throughout the day. So this one is going to help keep you full and satisfied throughout the day. On a plant-based diet, you're eating more nutrient-dense foods versus calorically dense foods. So what this means is you're eating a larger volume of food for less amount of calories and more nutrients. So for example, think a bag of potato chips versus 2 whole potatoes. Like you're getting more nutrient density for less amount of calories with the whole potato than you are from the potato chip. So you're going to want to eat more frequently throughout the day to meet all your servings and to make sure that you're getting enough calories throughout the day, because it's a lot of volume to fit in. Getting in 5 fruits, 4 vegetables per day is a lot of volume. So you're going to want to make sure you're squeezing them into snack times. So I really like to just fill in the gaps. I like to make sure pretty much always having a piece of fruit with every snack, one that's going to give you energy, natural carbohydrate throughout the day. Pair that with a vegetable or a fat, a good quality fat. So a piece of fruit with nuts and maybe some sugar snap peas, maybe your fruit salad throughout the week. Even if you're missing out on a little bit of protein, say like you didn't have this half protein here and you needed to meet your other half protein somewhere else throughout the day, your snacks can be that half protein. So say you wanted to get in more nuts throughout the day or hummus or edamame or dried chickpeas, get in your half protein that way and you don't necessarily need it at another meal. Those are some good snacks. If you're missing out on some starches and you're trying to squeeze in some good quality starches in your snacks, this could look like brown rice cakes or some good starches for snacks, dried edamame, like I was saying, dried chickpeas. If you're missing that crunch and that saltiness, that savoriness, those could be some good snack ideas. Even a smoothie, say like throughout the day on a weekend, if you have, or even during the week, like a smoothie could be a good way to get in lots of different food groups, and it could be nice as a snack since that's something that might not stick with us as long. And then say for the nighttime, say you're missing out on some fruit or you're missing out on something. If anyone's ever tried banana ice cream, this is a great way to get in more fruit. You just freeze some bananas. If you have bananas going bad, freeze them. You can put them in the blender, put a little bit of liquid in there and just blend it up, and it's really nice. Comes out like soft serve ice cream. I also like to do the apple test. If anyone's ever heard of the apple test, this is just ask yourself at the end of the day or whenever you're feeling kind of hungry, do I want an apple? If the answer is no, ask yourself, am I really hungry? If the answer is yes, eat the apple and then reevaluate. So that's a good kind of snack at the end of the day too. And then whatever else you're missing out on, you can fill in the gaps. So the next thing I want to show you, and you all will get a complete version of this. So this is not the complete version, obviously, but you'll get the complete version of all the different portion sizes, all the meals, all the snacks. And you'll also get a shopping list. So the shopping list is all the different foods that you're going to need on this plan that we created together. What's nice when putting together your shopping list is breaking it down into the different food groups. One, this helps keep you organized when you're at the store, and in general, this just helps to ensure that you're getting in your good quality starches. You can go back and double check, okay, am I getting any processed foods? Are these all whole foods, good quality starches? Same with the fats and the protein. You'll see it might look a lot different than your normal shopping list. So fruits and vegetables are going to be in abundance. So you're going to have a lot of fruit and vegetables, but don't worry because you need a lot of them throughout the day. So you will get through them all. Same with the protein foods. Just make sure that you have enough to have at least a serving with lunch, a serving with dinner, getting a little bit of variety there. You can add, looks like on here, lentils. It wasn't in that week, but that would be another good quality protein food. So double check that you're getting good quality foods when putting together your list. You'll also see with dairy that this is kind of optional. You can use non-dairy products that will technically count as your dairy portion, but you will still get your calcium needs through getting in tons of fruits and vegetables, getting in good quality fats, good quality protein food. So you'll meet your calcium needs by making sure that the quality of everything else is really good. So the dairy you could do with or without it. And the fats and condiments. With the condiments, really the only one we have here, vegetable broth is always helpful to have around, again, for replacing the oils. And the other condiments, just try to get them in their natural form, like honey and pure maple syrup, and not a lot of additives or anything. Use those minimally. But this is how I would put together a meal plan, how I would create a shopping list. What questions do you guys have? Pop them in the chat function, and we can go through and answer all the questions you guys have. And while you're thinking of your questions, some major takeaways from this is really, even if you're not doing this fully, doing a plant-based day, a plant-based meal, a week if you want to really challenge yourself, or 2 weeks and seeing how you feel and how you want to continue with this, or a complete transition. This is a great way to challenge yourself, switch up your typical routine. It allows you to be creative and view food in a different way. So this can be a fun challenge for a lot of people. 2, incorporating plant-based meals can help you achieve your goals, whatever your goal may be. This is going to be a good option to try. It's not going to be hurtful, and you can kind of determine how this will help meet your goals with your nutritionist, dietitian, and what your specific needs are. And the major takeaway that I hope everyone remembers is that quality is huge. So making sure the quality of your food, the quality of your starches, especially since the starch will be a little bit higher, you don't want to abuse that number and fill up on non-quality starches. So let's see what questions you guys have. So the 100% maple syrup, Why that? Good question. So a lot of maple syrups, one thing that you don't want in your maple syrup is high fructose corn syrup or a lot of processed added sugars. The 100% maple syrup is the most kind of natural maple syrup, natural added sugar that you can get versus the artificial sweeteners. Those can kind of cause GI issues sometimes, change our taste buds. So if you're going to have condiments like maple syrup and honey, just make sure that the ingredients are good. For chickpeas and black beans, do you use canned? Do you do anything before you serve them in salad? So personally, I do canned because that's just easy. If I'm on the go or if I don't have a lot of time for lunches or meals, yes, canned, I use them. I get the low sodium, no salt added. I double check the sodium on the back to make sure that it's low because the labeling can be confusing sometimes. So yeah, I use canned and then I just drain them and rinse them because a lot of times there's liquid in them. So I just rinse it off and then I just put them on top of the salad if I'm putting them in salad. And it's super easy and it's a great way to just add protein to your salad and help fill you up. Do I recommend organic foods? Certain foods, I would say it's better to do organic. If anyone's heard of the Dirty Dozen, it is good to do organic for foods that don't have a big like wrap around it, if that makes sense. So a big like thick skin around it. So oranges have a thick skin. I wouldn't say oranges, bananas, those kinds of things. I wouldn't say you would need to do organic. And then the Dirty Dozen, like berries and things that have soft skins, apples, thin skinned, would be a good option to do organic if possible. If not, getting in the fruit and or vegetable in any form is going to be beneficial. So don't let that stray you from getting in the fruits or vegetables. So other protein options besides chickpeas and tofu, really beans, lentils, getting in nuts, those are all great protein options. Again, making sure you're getting in whole grains, quinoa, sweet potatoes, brown rice, oats. Those things are all have protein that are going to add up throughout the day. Chia seeds, flax seeds, those are all great protein options that have protein in them. Kidney beans, any form of beans, doesn't have to be chickpeas. Can I define good quality starches? So I would define good quality starches as minimally processed, so in their whole form, that contain fiber and protein. So these would all be good quality starches since they are all in their whole form. They're not, the most processed thing would be the brown rice cakes. So not leaning on those all the time, but these would all be minimally processed whole foods that have fiber and protein. And it looks like another question we have, anything that diabetics need to be careful of. I would say talk to your dietitian, nutritionist, doctor for your specific needs, but really with diabetics, I would be careful of the added fats and saturated fats. And then making sure, again, that your starches are really good quality and that you're pairing your fruit with another food group like fats, vegetables, something else with fiber, your protein. But number one thing would be to make sure your starches are, again, good quality. Another question we have is thoughts on soy-based proteins like tempeh. So those are going to be a little bit more processed. So soy in its whole form is going to be your best bet. So edamame, tofu, I would say tempeh, a little bit processed, but still a good option. Soy proteins in general, there's kind of mixed research about it. But in general, the consensus is that soy is a good option, and it's very helpful for you. So I think that the tempeh would be a good food to include. I wouldn't rely on it as your main protein source every day and week to week. I would try to switch it up. But in general, yes, I think that that's a good option. What are your thoughts on pea protein powder? Also a good question. I'm loving all these questions. Thank you everyone for asking these. Pea protein powder, again, that's going to, I would say, one, look at your protein needs. Are you meeting them? Do you need the protein powder? Can you get your protein in another way, in a whole form of food? If you can't, then I think the pea protein powder is a good option. It's a plant-based protein. It's going to digest well. Also, another good thing to think about is, where is the pea protein coming from? Can you get the protein from peas themselves? Can you incorporate more peas into your diet and get your protein in that way? I think thinking about where those foods are coming from and the least amount of processing and in its whole forms, you're going to get a lot more benefits that way. Any other questions? You're all going to get this meal planning guide, this shopping list sent to your email, so you'll have all this information. Thank you all for coming so much. Please, if you have any last minute questions, send them through, and I'll hang around a little bit for a couple minutes to make sure that I'll answer any questions anyone has. But thank you everyone for coming. If you're interested in learning more about what we do at On Point, you'll be receiving an email with more information, a recording of this webinar, a recording of, not a recording, but this meal plan and the shopping list. So look out for that. And thank you all so much for coming. Again, I'll hang around for a couple minutes, make sure that everyone's questions get answered. And enjoy the rest of your Monday. And I hope everyone includes lots of vegetables in their dinner tonight.